Hey everybody. This is Chase, and I'm going to try to explain the new field line movement tech. There's a lot of confusion around this in the Sky speedrun community at the moment. Even people that kind of understand it are kind of just wiggling around in the middle of nowhere because they don't have setups yet, and wasting steps and getting encounters actually more easily than how it was explained to them. So this is to kind of enlighten people, give a couple setups for two of the more useful applications of it, and also, naturally at the beginning here, explain what the tech is. So what are field lines, right? Field lines, if you look over at the map on the left, are these red lines that separate these squares. These squares are called field tiles, and so we, naturally named the lines field lines. When you cross over one of these field lines, the game begins loading things. It begins loading tiles that it hasn't loaded yet, and just to make sure that it doesn't try to load something that's not in memory, it pauses your ability to get an encounter for about a second or two when you do that. This is interesting because what it means is you can kind of go back and forth across the same line and repeatedly pause your step counter. So it's kind of like it results in you being able to maybe move a little more in certain cases, but get to the same place with less steps. And since an encounter costs about 16 seconds every time you get one, even if you run perfectly from it and you have the white map and you're not worried about a back attack or anything, then it's one of those things that if you can do this a few times, it starts adding up. The current potential is about 3 to 5 encounters that it can reduce over the course of a run, which probably means it's gonna, on average, help someone out about 32, maybe more if you're a little lucky. 32 seconds, or maybe a little more if you're lucky. As we're trying to get these times down, down, down into the 10-1Xs, every 30 seconds of time save is the difference between a 10 20 17 and a 119 something, right? Like the top times in the tournament have all been able to almost 10-1X, and a little more set time save, maybe you can get it, right? So let's go over an example. Anyone familiar with the Sky Speedrun is familiar with this Moonstone Mountain movement. This Moonstone Mountain movement is very good for the speedrun. You go from Moonstone Mountain, you go north, you pick up Wings of Gold, you pick up the Great Bird, and then you go to the King's Hideout. This is you get a bunch of discoveries on this path. It's a bunch of gold really quickly. You have to use this path roughly anyways for the story, so why not pick up a bunch of gold? The downside to this is it's actually pretty uncommon to get all the way to the other side with without an encounter. It's little better than a coin flip. The other issue though is you have to go over a lot of land if you go straight. And when you go under those land segments, you are more likely to get an encounter, just because of the way of how encounters are processed. Certain tiles have higher chance to give you an encounter, and when you go under that island right in front of you, right next to Ixanis Village, you are very likely to get an encounter. So if you were to go between air, it's like 40%. The reality is it's a little higher than that. You're probably roughly coin flip odds to get from Moonstone Mountain to Wings of Gold without an encounter by doing this. So I'm going to show you here with a video like what the straight movement is, and then we're going to talk about a setup and how this new field line movement can be used. So you see the video, we're going to go straight, and this is the pretty standard stuff. You go straight north, we're going to go down, we're going to go get the village, right? Everyone's done this. There's some more advanced ways of doing this. But one thing to keep in mind is when you go over land, you don't get additional steps. You just, every time it rolls to see if you get an encounter, have a higher chance of getting that encounter. So I had to try this a couple times, but you get over there, and what are we, like 760-ish, I think, roughly. Let's see here. Yeah, it was about 760 something there for the number of steps we had. That's kind of not super great. 700 is generally where, with the white map, you start getting into very, very real chances of getting an encounter. You almost always get one before about 800, 900, and then 1,000 is like, you are, why haven't you gotten an encounter yet? You can get up to those numbers, but you just won't. The the way RNG for encounters is processed, it's non-linear. Your chances as you get higher in this number just start skyrocketing eventually. And about somewhere in the high 600s to 700s is when you start having a lot more chance. So let's see what happens if we go to the next video. Here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can see here, I'm doing the movement. We'll replay this after I do it. But keep an eye out on the step count at the top. 1, 2, we were 761 when we got there. Do you notice that something as I'm moving around? That value for the step count just keeps pausing. The step count is over here in the top one. Just keeps pausing over, over, 1, 2, 3. This is very convenient, and we get there in 5:30 or so. That's a roughly, 230 step reduction. That's massive. You go from coin flip odds to like 12.5% or something like that. It's roughly a 4x lower chance that you get an encounter there. That is, if you do this repeatedly throughout the run, that just means on average you're going to get less encounters, and on average you're going to save more time. Let's go back. I want to go over that previous clip first. So let's go over this again. And so, 1, 2, how are we doing 4, this? 5, 6, 7, so 8. Pretty much all of this comes down to a few things. You're going to for every field line movement, you're going to have two major parts of it, at least. One is the setup to get onto the line. The easiest way is from when you leave certain pre-defined areas to just know how far you are with like a count. Like at this heading, go here. Because I think a lot of people, when they're looking at this, think like people are looking at, because I think I'm the only one really doing it at the moment. I know Armstrong and a few others are definitely looking at it, but the only one who's actually done it in a run. A lot of people, I think, are looking at the screen, right? They're like, oh, I'm wanting to, go to this island because I know on the other side of this island is the line. I don't think that's what you want to do for several of these, and especially the next one I'll show. You need to realize these lines are perfectly north and south, perfectly east and west. These islands you're following are not. You want to go to pre-described points on the map, know the heading on your compass, like so many skies tricks rely on, and then just follow your compass for a certain amount of time and then do it. One of the things is that you don't have to be very super exact to lower your step count at least a little bit. You can take very wide turns across this and you'll still save steps. The tighter you can do these and actually make sure you cross the line, the lower your step count will be. But if you try to do it too tight and you end up wiggling on one side, you're just ruining everything. You're going to have a huge number of steps. You're going to get there and worse than you would have before. So it's one of these things you do need to practice it a bit. So one of the things I do here for this setup is I immediately go one tick east of north. You'll see me do this, and then I do an 8 count. So let's follow along. We're going to go 1 tick north of east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you see that? I was counting to 8, and I immediately turned. And you'll see right around then is when that step count pauses. When you make a turn, it's not perfectly straight, but about if you feel like you're counting a little too fast on average, do a 9 count. Like I said, going wide on these things will actually still save you steps. It will just be less. And then I know after that, I've paused the counter and I can get here to this corner where I can hit Ixanis Village. So right now, I'm not doing anything but going to another pre-described point, which is this little corner, mashing A, boom. I'm at 245 steps. On average, this movement, just getting to this village compared to the straight line, saves about 40 to 50 steps. And this is a very small amount of movement, but we have a lot farther to go, right? So we want to start saving our steps immediately. So then we're going to do the same thing again, because I know if I go northeast of here, one tick east of north, I'm going to hit that line again. And I know I'm a little closer this time. I need 6 counts to get there. So you're going to see me get out, and I'm going to count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Yeah. I probably should have started counting a little earlier than that, but it's roughly a 6 count. I know that. And then look, if you look over here on the map, I went from that area northeast, and now I'm in this like bottom center square. So what do I want to do? I can go northwest again, but why would I want to do that? There's this nice little line right in front of me that I can go to instead. And so I do. I know I can do a 4 count, and I can cross over due north. So that's what I do. I think I've already counted to 1, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and I start moving. And now I want to ride that line to my left again. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go 4 counts, 1 tick west of north, and then I'm going to go 4 counts, 1 tick east of north. We're going to do this again. 4, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then boom. So I found one thing is you never want to cross the line too quickly. Sometimes if you cross too quickly, like while it's still loading, sometimes like your steps don't like really seem to stop as much. It seems like you do want to like fully cross over. I know Nose Guy has said it's just a point on your ship that defines it, but in general, if you're doing faster than a 3 count, I've had bad luck getting that to work. But this, with a 4 count, it's pretty reliable if you can get a setup that you're crossing over it, and you just go 1 tick away from the cardinal direction you're going. So if you're going east, you're going to go 1 tick north or south. If you're going north-south, you're going to go 1 tick east-west. And you're just going to keep doing that over and over. And generally, when I'm going that direction, I just go to the corresponding notch in my GameCube controller, right? If I'm going left, I'm going to the up left. And I'm just holding that 1, 2, 3, 4. The moment I hit there, I go to the other notch on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's very easy that way once you have a setup that makes you get on the line reliably. And again, if you're worried you're counting too fast or something like that, just hedge to the side of caution and just go a little wider. You're going to save less steps. You probably won't save, what was that, like 200 and something steps? You'll probably save 100, 150. But that's still going to lower your chance by half, right? Compared to what it was. And so I think this is a very useful one. I think this is a very practical one and pretty reliable. It's one of those things that you're going to fail not super often at it, but this is Skies. You have the ability to take a single step and get an encounter, even though that is unlikely. Everyone who's played Skies, much less speedran it, knows that, right? Like the encounter rate sometimes makes you go, what? And it's just because the way encounters are processed is weird. I'm going to go to what I consider like the most advanced example next. And we're going to kind of show how this works. Okay, so this is the more advanced movement from dock to paywall. Everyone's familiar with this movement that does the speed run. You have to go and get your Warrior's Heart, and then you have to go pay the paywall stuff so you can go to Yafatoma. Well, this is what I'm going to show the straight movement and some different examples I know people do, and why some of them work, why some of them are a little better, and why the field line movement's better than all of them. we went reasonably straight, and then we're going to curve in here because we're trying to stay, not go over land too much. But 760, 770, we got an encounter. Like I said, high 70s, 80, 800. You're on borrowed time at that point. So we're going to do a little different. We're not going to go over land. Land's bad. That gives us high chances, right? So we're going to ride the reef. This is real common movement here. But the problem with this is you have a little extra steps involved, but you're not going over land, which you're trying to do that so that at the end here you don't have any real high chances that stick out. But let's see here. Yeah, we're already in the 800s, and so we're on borrowed time, and but yeah, 890 we got an encounter. So we had a really good run there. We just didn't make it because our line just wasn't clean enough. So let's split the difference. We know at low steps, land isn't super dangerous because we have a low chance of getting an encounter, so we'll do that. But then we're going to keep it as straight as possible, but try to go over land less so this time. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. It was 880, 890 when we got the encounter, and okay, we made it this time, but it was about 890 steps to the reset point. That's, like we said earlier, 890 is just not something you should expect to get. If you're relying on 890 to get there, you have a sub 20% chance of making it, 20% at best. So we want to find a movement where we can get there in less steps to do so. Well, field line movement does this. I'm going to show the next example, and then we're going to explain the setup for this one and the gotchas I'm seeing people do when they're doing movement on this reef. One of the things to keep in mind is this reef is not perfectly east and west. The line is very far away from it when you are near sailors, and it's very, very close to it until it eventually runs through it. So you need a setup to get on the line, and then I know a lot of people are kind of real focused on the reef, which kind of works when you're in that segment past that first island. But before that, if you start doing it, you're probably not crossing back over enough, and you're just getting a lot of steps. So let's look. How many steps was that? I think that was around 690. Yeah, 684, 68. So 680 to 690. That's over a 200 step reduction, and that brings us from an 80% chance of getting that encounter to a roughly 30% chance. I think it's one of those things where your chances drop dramatically. It's over double. So you have a real chance at getting there like that. And it's you're better than coin flip odds. You're not going to make it every time, but you're going to make it some amount of the time that you wouldn't have made it otherwise. And 16 seconds is a lot of time to save, right? It's one of those things where yes, you might lose 4 seconds compared to if you'd went straight and made it, but at the same time that still means you save 10, 12 seconds. So let's go over this everything, and I'm gonna try to explain the setup a little bit. Okay, so first thing, right when you leave dock, you're gonna be in a pretty consistent spot because dock's in a pretty consistent place after Grand Fortress. But we're gonna do a 9 count. We're gonna go pure southeast. The reason we're going pure southeast is we want to hit that line as quick as possible. Now, I find an 8 to 9 count to be there. I tried to go 9 because it's one of those things you really, really want to be sure you cross that line. If you do not cross that line, you are going to get an encounter. You try this. So now we're going to start doing what we did. We've went past the line, and now we're going to do a 4-5 count to make sure we get back over the line again. And then we're just going to do the 4 count that we're very, very familiar with until we get right around even with this island. Once you've kind of start passing the beginning of this island, you basically have to hit the reef for the next 2 times to get the step counter to pause. And I think when people are practicing it, they realize they need to hit the reef, but they don't realize farther away. It's not about the reef, really. It's about your compass. And so, see, then we're going to make it. I'm going to go back. And so, again, you need to be paying attention to your compass here. So I went southeast, and now I'm going to do the 1 tick north-south. So So we're 1 tick north of east, and I'm not following the reef here. I'm following my compass. I'm trying to go 1 tick and 1 tick, and eventually, though, with just being 1 tick away, you're going to hit it. And when you hit it, you're just going to bounce back, go back and count, and then you're going to do it again. But you're really trying to follow your compass, and you're only dealing with a reef when you just happen to start colliding with it because your compass movement made you, right? You're not actually trying to follow the reef there. You're trying to follow your compass. The reef's just in the way, and you're dealing with it. And for this specific movement, going lower is easier. It's less likely you accidentally go over land, and it's less likely that you hit a rock on the reef and get stuck. But in general, that is why some people are messing this movement up. You need a setup from wherever you're at to get onto it. It's very easy with the memory viewer. I will put the Dolphin memory engine file that has steps and a bunch of other useful stuff in the description of this video if you want it. And you can use that to try to test these things. And I will post more individual videos that are way, way shorter that just shows the movement and me doing the counts. So that people can learn them. But I think something like this is what is needed for people to really understand what's going on and not just look at the video and think, oh, he's wiggling around and he's saving steps. Because I've been seeing a lot of people wiggle, and it's very clear they don't understand why they're doing what they are. And I think this having this next level understanding and understanding the setup you need to get there more in depth will help people save this time. And I mean, we have so many low 1020s in this tournament. It's just a matter of time until we get that 10-1x. Maybe this 30 to 45 seconds or whatever this can save you is what you need to do it. All right, everybody. Thanks. If you have any questions, hit me up in the Skies Discord. I'm there a lot, and I'll try to put some useful information like the Dolphin memory engine link and the memory map file so you can try to test this stuff out for yourself if you want to. Thanks.